Militarily Speaking, episode 65, Homes for Our Troops.
This episode, we talk with Tom Landwermeyer, President and CEO, Brigadier General, USA Retired, with Homes for Our Troops.
Welcome to Militarily Speaking, brought to you by Armed Forces Bank. This is Tom McLean and Jodi Vickery. I am the Regional Military Executive for Armed Forces Bank. Jodi, fortunate enough to work with me, is the Executive Vice President, Director of Consumer Banking. And we talked last episode about our anniversary coming up. We're going to talk about your anniversary coming up for another few months, okay?
Oh, excellent. I'll have to figure out which one it is. Yes. So again, welcome to our show. We're excited to have you listening and learning all about our guest, Tom Landwermeyer, with Homes for Our Troops. Before we get started, though, Tom, I want to share a little bit about you with our audience. Brigadier General USA Retired Tom Landwermeyer was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. Cowboys fan. We've learned that just in the last few minutes.
Maybe a Texas Rangers fan, but yeah.
Recording, yes. He was commissioned as an Armor Second Lieutenant in 1976 upon graduation from West Point and became an Army aviator in 1981. During his 33-year military career, he led both armor and aviation units at all levels from platoon to his final tactical position as Deputy Commanding General of the 2nd Infantry Division. He held key staff positions at U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Forces Japan, and culminated his career on the Army staff at the Pentagon. His duty assignments have been throughout the United States, Germany, Japan, Bosnia, Iraq, and Korea. Following retirement from the Army in 2009, he served as a civilian on the Army staff in the Pentagon in the Office of the Chief of Staff of the Army. In June 2011, he became the Chief Operating Officer for the Armed Services YMCA, a military-affiliated nonprofit that provides programs and services to active duty junior enlisted troops and their families at military installations across the country. In January 2017, he assumed his current position as President and CEO of Homes for Our Troops. Brigadier General Landwermeyer has been married to his wife, Marie, for over 40 years. I'm only halfway there, yes.
Yeah, I'm not even 40 years old. Okay, keep going.
Well, we'll leave that alone. And they have 4 grown children, daughter Courtney, living in Palm Bay, Florida, son Thomas, married to Lauren and living in Woodbridge, Virginia, son Taylor, Army captain, married to Brittany and assigned to Fort Gordon, Georgia. It's Hepzibah, Georgia, if I recall, maybe.
Is that the town there?
That's the town, I think, yeah. Son Mackenzie engaged to Sophia and living in Indianapolis, Indiana.
So he's got a lot of state coverage there.
Yeah, you get to travel a bit to see the family. Well, welcome to our show, Tom.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Oh, it's our honor to have you on our show.
Thank you for your service very much.
Definitely. Thank you for being with us. We'd love to start out and just give you a little bit of time, open the floor, and let you give us sort of a macro view of what Homes for Our Troops is about. And then I'm confident we'll carry on into all sorts of detailed questions for you.
Okay. Sounds great. Again, thanks very much for giving us the coverage here and providing some awareness of our mission. It's really great. So Homes for Our Troops is a national nonprofit. We're located just outside of Boston, Massachusetts in Taunton, about 30 miles south of Boston. We've been around since 2004, and our mission is to build specially adapted custom homes across the country. And then we donate them to the most severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. Celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, this Saturday, we're about to give away our 400th home down in Newbraska, Texas. We built in 45 states across the country, and we've got another 65 projects that are currently underway.
Wow.
All that said, the other thing that I would add as an overview is even though we are a charity, we don't see our mission as charity. We really see our mission as the moral obligation of our country to take care of these veterans and their families that voluntarily serve. We haven't had drafts since 1973, 51 years. So they all volunteered. And when it was time, they went downrange. In a blink of an eye, their lives and their families' lives changed forever. Our country owes it to them to take care of them. Now, for another podcast sometime, our government can't get out of its own way. So,
to be continued. Yep.
That leads to organizations like us and others out there to try and take care of these veterans. So these homes we put on the ground really enable them to rebuild their lives. But it really is the duty of the citizens of our country to take care of them. And it's just repaying a very small portion of a debt that will never be completely repaid, what they've sacrificed for the rest of us.
So well said.
Agreed. Jodi wasn't here when we were talking about this earlier, but it's a sad thing when we have so many nonprofits supporting military that are having to be propped up or put into place to help either from veteran homelessness or from just trying to give shelter to people that deserve it more than we can ever say out loud about giving them what they deserve and then some. Because you're right, the debt will never be repaid fully. And I appreciate what you've done for 20 years as an organization. You there for about 7 years, right? That what you're doing is amazing work. And thank you for that. And I wanted to bring up Armed Services YMCA just because they were one of our early podcast guests. So we've had some great organizations. And I know, Tom, you're representing another great organization. Some of these best kept secrets out there are just fun to showcase. And you're doing some great work that hopefully we can impart some wisdom throughout this conversation and get people more engaged, involved, and aware of how they can help too. So this 400th home, I'm going to say New Braunfels. Am I pronouncing that right? In Texas, right?
It's outside of San Antonio.
Yeah. So, and I think organizationally on the mission side of the house, why don't you talk about, Tom, what it means to you personally or your organization or both about when you build a home and rebuild lives? Because I think that I see that message resonate throughout your website and throughout your mission too. So what does that mean when you say that?
It's a great question. I mean, aside from the fact that we know it's our country's duty to take care of these guys and gals, we know what's going to happen after they move into homes. We don't do it, they do it. So our tagline is building homes, rebuilding lives. Building homes is that physical thing that goes on the ground. It takes up a lot of our time. It takes up a lot of effort, takes up a lot of resources. But what really is great is what goes on with these veterans and their families' lives after they get in the homes. So some of the impact, when I first got here, we were doing impact kind of stuff like a lot of normal folks do it, which is really they're measuring outputs. So we were hanging our hat on impact numbers like how many homes had we built, how long did it take us to build a home, how many states have we built in, et cetera. And we were sitting there, that's not really the impact. That's just output.
Right.
We really need to look at outcomes. And we had a slide in one of our internal briefings that showed the home at the center of it. And then all around it had these various little caricatures of veterans doing different things, whether it's saving money, getting a new job, playing sports, volunteering, all these kinds of things. And we looked at it and said, there's the impact right there. It's all around that home. The home enables it. So then we went back and said, okay, how can we measure these impacts? Well, lo and behold, when we bring these guys and gals into our program, we have them fill out an application. And it's not a big onerous application, but it has some real key measuring points in it. Like, are you married? Do you have a college degree, or what level of degree do you have? Do you have a job? Are you employed right now? Those kinds of things. We get to look at their finances, and we can then go back in and ask them all the same questions after they've received their home. So in 2018, we started a every 2 years survey of all of our veterans that have been in a home for at least a year. So we didn't want anybody that just got in their home 2 months ago. We wanted to have somebody that had at least been in their home a year, and all the others before that. And we started asking them the same questions that we asked on their application to join our program. And what we found was amazing. We were able to, pinpoint, okay, after moving into our homes, the employment rate of our veterans more than doubles. After moving into our homes, the employment rate of our spouses and caregivers almost quadruples. We know how many had advanced degrees or were working on one, and how it increased after they moved into their home, both for the veterans and the spouses. We knew that more than 93% of our veterans told us that after moving into their homes, the stress level across the entire family has gone down tremendously. We knew that this is a population that is extremely interested in paying it forward. So we looked at the volunteering aspect in the community. Before moving into our homes, only about 21% of our veterans were able to volunteer out in the community. After moving into our homes, that goes up to 82%. And what we found was this impact was truly life-changing. So these homes truly were enabling life-changing impact. And that's the best thing we get out of it. we go out, we're visiting with our veterans. Every time we have different events for these projects, we'll go out. Veterans that we've built for in the areas before come out and attend those events, and we're able to interface with them, see what's going on with their lives and things like that. But we're watching these guys rebuild their lives. We're watching individuals that were, quiet when they came to our conference, didn't say much, that 2 years later, after they've gotten their home, they're now married, they've got kids, they're now motivational speakers out in public. They're running for office. We've got all kinds of athletes. I was just talking with one this weekend. He got his home out in California, and he didn't quite make it to the Paralympic team this year in the discus because he had the two guys in front of him that beat him out were a 5-time and a 3-time Olympian.
Oh, wow.
But they both just retired. So it's kind of opened the door, and he's ready for 4 more years of work.
2028. Yeah.
So he can try to get to 2028, which happens to be in LA. So he won't have to go quite as far, although he was hoping to get to Paris.
Oh, yeah.
But it's that kind of impact that we're watching happen with these veterans after they move into their homes. That's the biggest thing we see. And the thing that's most enjoyable about being in this organization and in this position, I don't refer to it as a job, it's a position. It's a great mission.
Do you have enough data points from these post home ownership surveys to be able to anecdotally or comprise the data and share it either on your website or through other collaborative organizations?
Yeah, matter of fact, we've got a bifold that we publish, and it's on our website under Impact, and you can hit every one of those. It's right there. You can look at it.
What's your website so our audience knows? We're going to say it at least 7.63 times. Okay, Tom?
That's a good thing. It's HFOTUSA.org, homesforourtroopsusa.org.
Excellent.
I'm trying to write that down.
HFOTUSA.org.
And if I slip up, because military guys always go into acronyms.
I know. I live with one, and it's like a whole nother language.
So you never say like HFOT around people, right?
That's what we say all the time.
Okay. Well, our audience we have to do this subliminally, right? HFOT.
Yes.
HFOT.
It's funny at our house. We used to, when we tried to talk about things that we didn't want the kids to know what we were talking, we'd spell it like we'd spell Christmas gifts in the phonetic military alphabet. Sure. And then my son started to put 2 and 2 together. So we had to 86 that and come up with a different
Do you want to go for a WALK? And yeah. No. And then my dog will say no.
Yes. So I want to press in a little bit more to the application process you talked about. You mentioned that you have one and you ask them those kind of baseline questions so you have a place to compare to when that survey comes around. But I think you have maybe over 100 applicants in the pipeline at some place. I know you mentioned a few minutes ago, 65 projects that are going on. What does that look like behind the scenes to continue to select applicants, prioritize the right ones, and then make sure you've got plenty of building project pipeline things going on too to satisfy that need?
So that's a brilliant question with a whole lot to unpack.
I'm hoping it's being recorded. That was a brilliant question.
So our veterans have to be, just kind of back the envelope, have to be post 9/11 and injured, or their injuries or illnesses due to their service downrange in Iraq or Afghanistan theaters of war. We have had some that were actually downrange and were injured in an accident downrange, but they were downrange where the enemy was. And so they can apply to our organization. They have to be eligible for the VA Specially Adapted Housing Grant. And the reason we do that is because there are thousands more that have been injured downrange or that have some type of illness from downrange. But the VA's SAH grant, what it's called, is a congressionally established grant with congressional requirements. Generally, that's the loss of use of one or more legs or arms. So single or double amputee or more. It can be different levels of paralysis. Blind veterans qualify, as well as severe burns. Once they get eligible for that grant, then they can come to us and fill out our application form. There's a challenge with getting eligible for that grant sometimes with these veterans, because as everyone has heard, and I'm certain your listeners on the podcast have heard, the VA doesn't always have the best reputation out there among veterans. Some of it is deserved in specific instances. A lot of it is not. They're getting lumped in. And there's a lot of good VAs out there that are doing the Lord's work. But there are some veterans that have had terrible experiences at a VA. And as soon as we say, are you eligible for the VA, especially adapted housing grant, they start to recoil. They go, oh, okay, if I got to do that, if I got to do something with the VA, then never mind. Well, no worries. We've got a lady on staff that's actually been with us for 16 of our 20 years of existence. She knows the VA SAH system as well as I would honestly bet all my next paychecks. She knows it as well as anybody in the VA SAH system. And she will hand walk these guys and gals through the process and help them. Now, there have been times where we've had a double leg above the knee amputee been disapproved for the SAH grant, which we just start shaking our head because, okay, this one's going to get overturned. And we have the point of contact in the VA. She will go right back to this person. They understand the issues, and we can get it turned around in 24 hours. They will change and approve them. So we can work through that, even for the guys and gals that don't really want to trust the VA. We ask them to trust us, and we can help them with that. And once they get that, it's a letter of eligibility. Then they come back to us. They fill out our application form, and then we will do a criminal background check on all of our applicants every once in a while. And there's only been a couple in the almost 8 years now that I've been here. There's only been a couple of the veterans when we've done that criminal background check that have come up with something in their background that our donors or supporters would not support. They would not want their money going to something like that or to somebody that participated in something like that. And we just tell them as a nonprofit, I'm sorry, you don't qualify for our program. Everybody else normally passes that criminal background check. The other thing we do is a financial health check. Early on in our existence, a lot of the veterans we got were almost direct from the hospitals. They were still going through rehab recovery. They had been medically retired because you can't legally accept one of these homes from us if you're still on active duty. So we had to wait until they were medically retired. But they were real young. A lot of the enemy's weapon of choice downrange was the IED. So the vast majority of these guys and gals were blown up. And it was when they were very, very young. So they would come back. They had been downrange. Some of them have been downrange several times, might have been downrange 2 or 3 times or more. The money that they were making downrange was not taxable. They had a lot of money when they came back. They spent it on different things. Their finances weren't not in good shape. So we got a company that provides 3 years pro bono financial planning assistance to every one of our veterans and their families. When we do that financial health, if we find a veteran whose finances are upside down, we will start their 3 years early so that we can get them in financial shape to be a homeowner. Because even though they get this house donated to them free, they don't have a mortgage. They still have taxes to pay. They have utilities to pay. If they're insurance, in the HOA, they've got HOA bills to pay, upkeep of the house, of the area, all those kinds of things. They've got all the normal things that a homeowner does. So we want to make sure that they're in the right financial shape and we set them up for success as a homeowner. So we'll start that early. Now, the interesting thing is, as we've gone in over time and now at our 20-year mark, since I've been here, as we normally bring in about 8 veterans at a time. The last point is called our veteran conference. And we actually bring them up to the Boston area. And we have a 3-day event where we give them basically Homes for Our Troops 101. We have a good session where we talk land and where they want to live, because one of the unique things about us is they choose where they want to live. And then we go out and find the land there because we want to make sure they stay in the home. But they run through the process at the Veterans Conference. And then the last part, we review everybody and go to bring them in. The average time since injury has now, over the last probably 2 years worth of Veterans Conferences, has now gone up to where it's averaging 19 years since their injury of the veterans that we're bringing in. So the veterans we're bringing in today are really in a different point in life than the veterans we were bringing in 15 to 20 years ago. We see a lot of these guys and gals whose finances are in good shape. We see some that might actually own a home already, but it's not adapted. It's a 2-story townhouse or something like that, but they're in good shape. We see veterans today, not only do they have a family, their kids are grown and have gone off to college. So they're just in a completely different place in their life. We don't change anything with a financial planner. We still give them one, but we'll start it right as they get their home so that they're ready to move forward and set them up for success still as a homeowner. But that's kind of our process. Again, different mindset of the veterans as they're coming into the program these days, as opposed to 15 to 20 years ago. And again, they're just at a different point in life. So we've kind of adjusted how we do things, how we're talking to them, and exactly how we do things back to back.
It sounds like a very thorough and complete process. I love the fact that you let them kind of let you know where they want to be and live, and versus saying we have a house here, but you're going to have to move across the country if you want to participate in it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, all the ones we do are all brand new builds from the ground up. We don't do any renovations. We don't
Gotcha.
take possessions of homes and go in and fix them up and then say, anybody want to live over here in Missouri or Maine or, Montana, wherever it may be. We ask them where they want to live. The other thing that we're doing in our sessions with them is trying to figure out what they're looking at for the rest of their life, which, again, working with, it's easier to do that.
Yeah, true.
But if we can set them up for, like, we need about an acre of land to properly site our 2,800 square foot ranch style home. So that's a good slice of dirt somewhere. You're not going to find that in most of your developments. Most of your developments you're going to find is a third of an acre, maybe a half of an acre, or something like that.
Yep.
And you can kind of look out one window and see what anybody else is having for dinner next door. But we need about an acre. And a lot of these guys and gals like to live a little bit further off the grid. So we end up dropping a lot of wells and putting in a lot of septic tanks as well, because we're not always hooked up to, city utilities and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, Tom, 2,800 square feet, 4-bed, 2-bath, and an acre of land. It does feel like you're setting them up for life, right? With something they're going to love, because it seems like it's compatible with where their life is now, and the customization and the adaptations that you put in place make for a long-term solution for people that takes that stress level off, just like you talked about with the survey results that have changed people's lives.
It definitely does too, Tom. I'll give you for instance, we got a kid in, north of San Francisco in California. When he came to conference, we were telling him, hey, we get about an acre of land. And he said, well, I just want enough land so that I want to put a pool behind my house, and then I need to build this outbuilding. We said, okay, what do you got in mind? And he said, well, the pool is because I learned to scuba dive. He's a double above the knee amputee.
Amazing.
He said, I learned to scuba dive, and I want to teach other injured veterans how to scuba dive. And I got to have this outbuilding a ways out where I can put all my tanks, because they have to be separated from my living area and stuff like that. And we went, well, that makes sense. We gave him his home, I want to say it was back in 2014. So he's right at the 10-year mark now. I ran across him in 2018. He came to another event where he was one of the speakers at a kickoff for one of our veterans in Northern California. And I talked to him for a while about it. I said, hey, how's the scuba instructing going? He said, it's going great, guns. Love it.
Yes.
Love what I'm doing. But he's staying in his home because he's got everything set up for what he wants to do with his life. We've got a couple out near the headquarters here in Middleborough, Massachusetts, that wanted to have several horses, and they get rescue horses. One of them they've got on their little spot there is actually a Clydesdale, but then they also bring veterans out because her husband, or the spouse's husband, actually went through some rehab with horses, some equine therapy, and they wanted to do that for other veterans. So they've had other veterans come out to their little place and be with their horses. So I've gone out there a couple of times and helped them out around their place when I've been up there on the weekends. And then we went out just last year as an organization on September 11th for our National Day of Service. And we went out and redid their landscape and stuff, did a bunch of work for her. Her husband, God bless him, passed in 2020, in the summer of 2020, but she is close to us. A bunch of us are friends with her on Facebook. We invite her to things all the time. She's a great ambassador, but it's a lot of fun going out there and giving them a hand.
A little bit on the adaptations, and you don't have to list all 40 of them, but I know
it's a pop quiz.
But just in general, Tom, some of the adaptations, I'm sure you have 40 different ones, because over time, over 2 decades, you've probably determined and learned from the future homeowner that there are adaptations that necessitate different thinking, different construction, different everything, looking beyond the moment. But you want to talk a little bit about what those adaptations are?
Sure, would love to. If any of my staff tunes into this, they're gonna rate me on how many of these things I come up with. I just start when you come in the front door. All the doorways in the home are wider to accommodate a wheelchair coming through. A lot of these guys and gals that use a wheelchair at home will tell you if they can use one where they currently live, they are normally scraping the walls or scraping their knuckles and the walls or the doorways, the door jambs and stuff as it comes through. So all the doorways are wider. There's only a couple of hallways. They're very short, but they're extra wide. Matter of fact, anywhere inside that house, you can do a 360 in a wheelchair. So they are able to access their entire home. If they got a little 18-month-old that thinks they can run away from dad, it ain't happening. They can get anywhere in their home and chase that little booger, which makes them happy because they want to be able to do that because in some of those current homes, they can't get everywhere. A lot of times they'll relegate themselves to one place in the home where they can actually move around. You get into the kitchen, it's got lower countertops for them. It's got roll under food prep areas, a roll under cooktop, roll under sink. You go back into the master bedroom and you can roll into the bathroom. You can roll in, shower, transfer over to a big bench, scoot over, take your own shower, come back out. You transfer into a big tub that's in there. There's a roll under sink. It's actually a double sink in the main bathroom. One side is a roll under, the other is regular. All the light switches in the house are a little bit lower than you would see in our homes when you go into them to accommodate somebody in a wheelchair. All the outlets are a little bit higher. All the windowsills are a little bit lower to assist with egress if they had to get out somewhere. All the windows actually slide left and right instead of going up and down, which helps somebody in a chair get out that way, or just to open and close the window if you had to do that. That's a pull down shelving in the kitchen to allow them still in their chair to reach up and pull things down and get them out of the shelf and stuff like that. There's a full home backup generator that's installed at the back of the house if they lose power. That was, you made a really good comment, Tom, about over time.
Say that again. I made a what?
See, I did it to both of you.
I know.
I know. The difference is I'm going to hear about it from him for like a week.
Especially if I get one more. But go ahead. What was the great comment you heard from Tom?
So the comment you made was that over time we've adjusted.
Yeah.
And we've done that because the most unique thing about this organization is we stay in contact with all of our veterans after we get them the keys. The first reason we do it is we promise them a quality home. So if there's issues with the home, we're going to make it right. And sometimes it may take us a while, but we're going to go back and make it right. Second is we need feedback on these adaptations, because until 2 weeks ago, all of the folks here at my headquarters, all my teammates, about 65 of them, all of us were completely put together. Nobody's on crutches. Nobody's in a wheelchair. Nobody's severely injured. But about 2 weeks ago, we actually hired one of our HFOT home recipients.
Good idea.
And he works virtually, but he lives down in San Antonio. So now we do have one of our severely injured veterans that is on our staff. So now I will let some of the staff come up with some ideas of what could be right for home. I usually break up those conversations going on and say, go ask the veterans. We don't live in those homes, but now we got one that does live in a home. But they give us feedback on those adaptations because we're constantly tweaking our house plans. They tell us what's right, what we don't need to waste any effort on, and then new things that we may not have thought of, or as time goes on, technology gets different. A couple years back, I was out at our 300th home just outside of St. Louis in Missouri. And one of the veterans that was visiting that day said, "Hey, sir, you guys ever thought about putting in outlets that have USB adapters in them?" And I went, USB ports and outlets? Boy, every hotel room I'm in has those everywhere.
Yeah.
They're in the,
Good point.
they're by the phone, they're in the lamp, they're in the wall. And then you go in the airplanes now, they're all there instead of regular, plugs and stuff. So now we allow them to put USB outlets with outlets in certain places inside the home. They just tell us where they want them. But we get feedback from that. And then the most important reason we stay in contact with them is because of what's most important to us in our mission. That's the rebuilding lives aspect. Talked about all the impact. But we stay in touch with them because they're going to do some wonderful things. Their families are going to achieve some great things, have some wonderful events, and we want to celebrate with them. But these homes are not going to fix those veterans' injuries. They know the hand they've been dealt, and it's for life. And they're not grousing about it. They're not looking backwards in the rear view. They're looking forward. They're focused forward on the positive, but they are going to have issues. A lot of times it's only the spouse or the family that sees some of those issues, but they're going to have them. And when they have those bad times and they need some assistance, we want to be there to help them out and get them the right help. So that is the main reason why we stay in contact with our veterans.
Well said.
Yeah, no, definitely. Hey, everyone, we've got something special for our military listeners today.
Absolutely. If you're in the market for a new home, you've got to check out Armed Forces Bank's VA loans. They're designed specifically for you with competitive rates, no PMI, and no down payment required. And as an approved VA lender with VA certified underwriters, all decisioning is done in-house, which creates a more streamlined experience for veterans.
At Armed Forces Bank, about 75% of our team is affiliated with the military, so we know what it's like to serve. We've been supporting military families for over 100 years, so we've got your back every step of the way.
Whether you're active duty, a veteran, or a reservist, we are here to make your home buying process smooth and stress-free. And with our mortgage service guarantee, we'll close your loan on time or pay you $1,000.
So if you're ready to move into your dream home, head over to afbank.com or visit a branch near you. Armed Forces Bank, serving those who serve.
Equal housing lender, member FDIC, subject to credit approval. VA funding fee may apply. VA loan qualification guidelines apply. Third-party closing costs apply. Owner-occupied property only.
You know, so to do all of this good work, it's not free, right? So at least last I checked, I mean, I don't go to Home Depot a lot, but that stuff all costs money to build homes. You know, I think we noted that 65% roughly of your budget comes from individual donors, family foundations, maybe community fundraisers, and then the rest might come from corporate donations, sponsors, maybe in-kind donations of materials, things like that. So for those that are listening to our podcast and they're moved by what you're doing, and I don't know who wouldn't be, other than through your website, which is hfotusa.org, how can they get involved and support your mission?
Before you answer that, Tom, when I looked on your site, there's like 8, 9, 10 different ways that people can either get involved, support, or provide financial or philanthropic endeavors to support you. So you can piggyback off of what Jodi just asked you, but you certainly give people options.
We do. And Jodi, I always point everybody back to the website, because the website, as Tom says, has a drop down up there on, how you can help, how you can partner. And it gives a ton of different ways. It's also the place where, let's say I know we've been through a pandemic, and then we went right into inflationary times, which they may have slowed down, but they haven't subsided. Things are still expensive out there. And people may or may not have, discretionary income that they can do something with. But we can always use volunteers. Well, the way you can figure out whether or not you might be able to volunteer in your area is you get on the website and look for our veteran page, which it has all of our home recipients there in alphabetical order, but it also has a build map. The build map, you can look at it. It has all the different colors of homes that we built across the country, but it just scrolls down and it goes to the states. And all you got to do is click on your state. And then that will take you to a page that lists one by one every veteran that we're currently building for in that state. And it has a link that it can go to their story. It'll tell you where we're building for them. It'll have a spot that you can actually put your contact info so that as we move forward with events, we can let you know when those events are going to happen, and then you can volunteer for them, those kinds of things. It'll also let you know where we've built for veterans before. So it'll have all the ones that have been completed. So you can see everything we're doing and find out every possible way you can help. 2 other ways I'd tell you. Actually, I'd just tell you that every time I go out, people are saying, I've never heard of you. And there's a reason for that, because we don't do a lot of advertising. We're a word of mouth awareness organization. But I always leave everybody with 3 ways that can help us. First is, if you got a veteran that lives in your area, remember, they chose to live there. So wrap your arms around that veteran and family and make sure you welcome them to your community. Again, they chose to live with you. They could have lived anywhere in this country they wanted to, but they chose your area. So wrap your arms around, show them your community, let them know you love them. It's going to take that entire community for that veteran to completely rebuild their lives. That's the very first and most important thing everybody can do. The second is awareness. Once people have gone to our website or listened to the podcast, learn a little bit more about us, go out and tell 5 people the organization you ran into, what we do, but most importantly, who we do it for, and that'll help our awareness. And last, if you got the ability to donate, or you can volunteer, or you can fundraise. We've got a small group here in the headquarters that deals nothing with independent fundraisers, and they will monitor and help more than 500 fundraisers across the country every year. We can turn any passion into a fundraiser and help us out. So those are just some of the ways that everybody can help out. But awareness is a big one. We don't have national awareness, which is probably our biggest challenge. But because since our inception, we've spent almost 90 cents of every dollar on our program, our board likes that comment and they like that direction. And when we go out and talk to donors, sponsors, supporters, they like the fact they tell me on a daily basis, hey, I'm glad you put most of your money into your program. So that comment is not going anywhere. My board is not giving me any different guidance other than make sure you keep your overhead low. And so we're going to keep it like that. So that means we're not going to be able to spend millions of dollars on advertising because our overhead would just shoot through the roof.
That makes people more inclined to give when they know that money's being put to what they believe it is when they open up their pocketbook.
Yeah, whenever you see 90 cents, 91 cents, 95 cents on the dollar goes to that, stuff like that matters.
And the other thing is you can target it. You could just say, hey, my $10 donation does this. We have a monthly giving program, $15 a month. You could say general fund. You can also target that to a state. You could say, I want all my contributions. I live in Montana. I want them to go to all bills going on in Montana. Or you live in Boise, Idaho, and we've got a bill going on in Boise, Idaho, and you get on and find it and say, I want my contribution to go to that home right there, and we'll do that.
Very cool.
Jodi, as people go out to HFOTusa.org, did I say that right?
Yes.
There's a plethora of information and resources out there, but that board that you have, with all that military and leadership experience, you referenced key partners like you have a gold national partner, Wayfair. I should probably get paid by mentioning their names out loud like that too. And that helps furnish the homes. You got a silver national partner, Texas Roadhouse. My new favorite restaurant, by the way, is Texas Roadhouse.
It's my son's.
Oh, and then like Bubba's 33. I don't know what Bubba's 33 is, but maybe Tom can enlighten me.
Tell you. So Bubba's 33 is actually another part of Texas Roadhouse. They have 3 brands. The 3 brands: Texas Roadhouse, Bubba's 33, and Jaggers.
That's good. Tell your son that. Yeah.
Texas Roadhouse is far and away the biggest. Bubba's 33 is next, and Jaggers is just kind of getting started out in a few places. Texas Roadhouse, you've been in it, you know what it's like.
Yes.
They are the only partner we've had actually that's been here with us since inception. So they are celebrating with us this year, besides our 20th anniversary, their 20-year partnership with us. And what they did this year was they decided to do some specific fundraisers, all targeted so that they would fully fund our 400th home. And that's what they've done. So they are a terrific partner that brings us lots of, when you've got these little table tents that sit on a table when you sit down, and I've gone into the restaurant and looked down and go, hey, look, it's us.
Yeah.
And they're on every one of their, 700 to 800 restaurants everywhere across the country, talking about the 400th home and what they're trying to do for us. It's great. You mentioned Wayfair. Wayfair they are actually furnishing our 400th home. This makes the 8th home that they furnished. But another great thing Wayfair does is if you buy anything on their website online with them, as you go to check out, ours is one of a couple of nonprofit logos that's at the checkout that you can donate to right there.
That's awesome.
And they send us proceeds from that. So one of the big things we get from them is awareness, because there's a lot of people out there that are buying things from Wayfair.
It might be me.
Our platinum, we've got one platinum sponsor, and that's ABC Supply Company out of Beloit, Wisconsin. And this company, it starts with their co-chair or their co-founder and chairman, Ms. Diane Hendricks, who's also a member of our board, and it goes all the way through their company. They are 100% all in for our organization. Anywhere we have an event, they're always out in force. If we need any kind of help, they will bend over backwards to try and support it on the end. We went through a walkthrough today earlier for our fourth ceremony this weekend. It's a military. We do stuff like that all the time. We're going to rehearse. We're going to walk through things, make sure we're ready to go. So we did the walkthrough for our 400 ceremony today. And one of the things I was asking about was, hey, parking, we got 70 volunteers coming from ABC Supply, the local areas. And one of the volunteers is one of our HFOT home recipients down in the San Antonio area. So he's going to be working out there that day. But they're just tremendous. One of the biggest things they did for awareness this year, the last 3 years, they have sponsored an Indy car for the Indy 500 for, I believe it's 13 years now. In the last 3 years, they came to us 3 years ago and said, hey, we want to make this all about you guys. We're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Well, when they showed us the car, it was red, white, and blue, stars and stripes. Our logo was all over it. Our URL is on it. Our tagline, everything. It's all about us. It truly is. You have to know that ABC Supply Company is the main sponsor of that car, and then you'll find their logo. The driver, all the crewmen were all in big red, white, and blue white star outfits. And right in the middle of their chest was this huge Homes for Our Troops logo. You looked at the pit where the car comes flying into the pit stops and takes off. Right there on the pit wall, it says the driver's name, Santino Ferrucci, number 14, and then Homes for Our Troops. When they introduced the drivers the day before the race, they bring them down one at a time. When they got to our guy, they said, and driving the number 14 Homes for Our Troops car. And I'm like, who does that? Who takes this bright light that could be shining on your organization and they turn it on to a nonprofit? Well, ABC Supply Company does it, and it helped out our awareness. It drove more than $5 million in donations in May because they were matching the first $1 million for the month. They are just wonderful partners. I can't say enough about. And we've got a ton of other partners out there that do all kinds of things for us. You know, down in Texas specifically, HEB that is partnered with us on 7 homes. They assign a designer to the family with the home and will actually fully furnish the home. And then for any homes that we're building down in that area where they've got a HEB nearby, they will always stock the pantry, and they're stocking the pantry on this 400 home this weekend too. So we got a lot of terrific partners out there.
That's awesome. I can say I support several of them. Maybe Wayfair. I like a Texas Roadhouse roll or rolls.
They should do, those rolls are pretty good.
They are. But, so that's my son's favorite place to eat. And he's at college now. So when I go over on Sundays, that's where he wants to go. And now that you say that that's on all those tables, I remember seeing it. So, yeah, I can attest to the one in Manhattan, Kansas.
And you mentioned the board as well. I mentioned that Diane Hendricks, the ABC Supply Company, is on our board, but Jerry Morgan, the president and CEO of Texas Roadhouse, is on our board. And I met him at one time at his headquarters there in Louisville, which is where Texas Roadhouse is. It's kind of funny. You'd think they'd be in Texas, but they're actually headquartered in Louisville. And the very first one was in Indiana. But Jerry was there, and I talked to him for a while, and he was talking to me, said, I hear all of it, because I was talking to him about the feedback and everything from donors and stuff like that. And he said, I hear from people that go into our restaurants all the time, and they're always talking to me about how good those rolls and that butter is.
Oh,
he said,
the cinnamon butter?
He said, I just wish for once somebody come up to me and talk to me about one of those steaks.
That's true. Well, they will talk about it when they say, okay, this day we're going to have an 8-ounce sirloin, and we're going to donate all that to HFOT. Just to pick a day, right?
So Bubba's 33, one of the guys. There's one down in Wesley Chapel, Florida, that picked a day in July, and all their proceeds that day came to us. We were actually doing an event down there, and I drove over to see them. And I went walking up. I'm always branded, just like today. I'll always have a shirt on with our logo. And I came walking up, and the lady sitting behind the little welcome desk out in front in the parking lot. I came walking up to her and she said, I know that organization that's on your shirt.
Wow.
And I said, I know you do. And so we started talking and she took me inside to show me what all they were doing and everything that they were doing that day. They also have all the Bubba's 33 has a Patriot Burger that's on their menu. And for every Patriot Burger they sell, $1 comes back to us. So there's different things out there. This particular Bubba's 33, funny story. They ordered a whole bunch of swag off of our website because we got things out there, hats and T-shirts and stuff that you can buy. But they ordered a whole bunch of the Homes for Our Troops swag, and then inside the restaurant on a big table off the side, they were selling all that swag, but they had already paid us for it, and then whatever they got for the sales, they gave us as donations. So
Awesome.
we're actually getting double for the
double
swag.
dipping. Yeah. Double dipping those rolls in that butter.
So now that I know that you know the CEO, I'm going to need the recipe, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know
of the roll. Yeah.
Yeah, I would pay good money for that.
He's going to start saying the ticker symbol for Texas Roadhouse is TXRH on the NASDAQ. Yeah.
Yes.
So 4 stars, the 4 stars on Charity Navigator, I'm putting a plug in for all the great work you do. One of the top rated veterans in military charities. Brand ambassadors certainly are out there. A couple of prominent celebrities are your brand ambassadors out there. Reputationally, you've checked the boxes and you're meeting a real need out there. So how are you actively getting the message out there? And I think like we talked about the podcast, whether you're on with Maria Bartiromo, which you're going to help me get in front of her to have a conversation about Armed Forces Bank. Thank you for that. And, but also with these partners and these different donations at the register. I mean, certainly you're doing your part because everybody's vying for dollars out there, right? There's 45,000 nonprofits serving military community. And I mean, it's a competitive, but it's a healthy competition for dollars to help because Jodi and I talk to a lot of great people out there and they're doing great things and great programs and events. But you found like a little niche, right? You found it and it keeps growing like roots on a tree. And it's great that you're getting that message out there almost one day at a time, one person at a time. And like you said, if you're going to tell your story for brand awareness, tell 5 people. And next thing you know, they're going to tell 5 people and 5 people. And then social media. But any other ways you're sharing your vision or getting the value proposition out there in the community that are either unique or different that you want to share?
I don't know that they're unique. I've got a marketing team of about a half a dozen folks downstairs. We're very judicious in that in picking which ones we want. And I really depend on our team to tell me which ones we ought to be on and which ones we should not be worried about. So that's kind of how we do that. We leverage our corporate partners heavily. We're always reaching out to them. Like for the 400th, we got a press release. We're ready to send it out. Our special guest that's supposed to be there is the governor of Texas.
That's awesome.
We have 3 different build events per project. The kickoff is normally done about the time that we pour the slab for the build. And it's introduce the veteran to the community and also introduce the community to the veteran that has to live there and introduce the community to Homes for Our Troops so they know who's behind this and who's doing it. It's normally done, all of our events are normally done on a Saturday morning so that most people are off of work. We understand that could be a day when, some certain age kids things are going on, and that's just, you're never going to find the perfect time. But it's not school days and it's not normal work days, so that's our best shot. So we do most of our things on Saturday morning, but we ask everybody to come out and it's normally done in a school, a church, maybe a VFW, an American Legion, some kind of place where we can bring people in, sit them down, and then have a lunch afterwards. But we do a patriotic welcome of the veteran and family with a big escort, lots of flags waving, lots of sirens with local law enforcement, first responders, Patriot Guard riders on motorcycles, bringing the veteran stuff, let everybody out there wave the flags, feel good about themselves that morning for participating, bring everybody in, and then there's normally a few corporate partners that attend. We'll let them say a few words. For a kickoff, we'll normally have one of our Homes for Our Troops recipients will come and speak about what the home has meant to him or her. And then I'll say a few words, and then I'll introduce the veteran to talk and maybe share the story, stuff like that. And then we'll end up and everybody will go have some lunch right there on site. About 6 weeks before they get their keys, we'll do a landscaping day, and we call it the volunteer day. And that's where we need a ton of support from the community. We'll get the word out on that. And they come out, put all the sod down, plant plants, put down mulch, rocks, whatever we got to do for the landscaping. That normally, again, takes place in the early morning. Normally goes for 2 hours, maybe 3, and we'll have lunch set up. We got a DJ that's out there. So bring the kids out, let everybody get dirty, get some sweat equity going in the project, and then have some good lunch. And then about 6 weeks later, we'll do a key ceremony that kind of mirrors the kickoff in its escort, patriotic, waving flags, but it's at the home site. We bring the veteran actually to their home, bring everybody under a tent. We have a few remarks by different folks. And then we have somebody close to the veteran speak. A lot of times it's spouse speaks about their husband. And then again, I'll speak for a couple of minutes, turn it over to the veteran. Then we go over to the flagpole. Every one of our homes comes with a flagpole. We've had a couple of HOAs since I've been here saying they don't allow that. And we say, okay, sorry, we're not building there.
Yeah, say bye.
I take that. Yeah.
So we go over to the flagpole. At the landscaping day, we put up a Homes for Our Troops flag. Big blue flag sits up there. At the key ceremony, when we do the flag raising, we run the Homes for Our Troops flag down, replace it with an American flag, signifying transferring the home to an American veteran. Then we go back to the porch. We got a yellow ribbon there. We present a ceremonial key, cut a ribbon, and then let the family go in. And then what we do at every PC is after the family's been in there for a few minutes to take a look at their home and stuff, we let everybody that's attended come and put booties on. They get to walk through the house and actually see all those special adaptations we were talking about, talk to the staff, different things like that, and get I see. Now I understand this. Because for the most part, some of those adaptations you'd pick up on quickly, but about, I'd say 75% of them you wouldn't recognize.
Yeah, even when you were talking through them earlier and rattling off some of them, it wouldn't even have occurred to me that would be an adaptation. But as you said it made total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are times that we do those 3 things. And we will, again, we've got community engagement coordinators that are planning these events from here. They coordinate them. They're trying to get in touch with all the different activities that are out there, be it churches, schools, law enforcement, Chamber of Commerce, American Legion, VFW, churches, everything, trying to get the word out in the community to get them to attend those 3 events.
So I want to say two quick things, and then we're going to get to our military minute. Is that okay? You ready?
Absolutely.
2 things. One, I just want to tell people what your core values are, and they're awesome on the plethora of information on your website, but it's CARES, right? Commitment, accountability, respect, excellence, and service. And then the second thing I wanted to say is I'm going to fact check you that you said you're in 45 states. I saw 46. So I think it's Hawaii, Iowa, New Mexico, and Vermont where you don't have a presence.
And Wyoming, because the one you saw on Wyoming state should be a red one, or it's probably yellow. It's underway. So we've got land, but we haven't completed the build. It's not green.
All right. So I'm right. Okay, good.
That's what you get for trying to be a smarty pants.
I'm not going to count. No, you're not right. I'm right, because we're not going to count that state until we finish the build.
So for the record, I think that nets out the positive thing that you told Tom earlier. So I win.
So
Speaking of winning.
So let's thank Tom for what a fantastic job he did today.
Yes, most definitely. And if you're game, we'll have you hang out for just one more quick minute, pun intended, while we play the military minute.
It's a fun time for all. Yeah.
At least for us. So last podcast, we had a military minute question about credit scores. And
so we should give Tom the answer, or give him the opportunity to answer it. Okay?
Well, let me ask the question first. The question for our audience, based on our last podcast, was what is the range from low to high of credit score possibilities? Got a guess, Tom?
And remember, he's got this 3-year financial planning, pro bono stuff programs. Tom should know the answer to this. So what's your answer, Tom?
My answer is my wife would be laughing at you right now, because she would tell you that I don't have the foggiest clue about our finances or what we may owe anybody. And
that makes her a good military spouse, is what that means. Yes. The household CFO, also known as the military spouse.
The answer is, Jodi?
The answer is 300 to 850. So if you were an audience member and you answered that when our podcast dropped, watch for our next post to see if you were selected as the person to win $50 for yourself and $50 to a charity of your choice.
Like HFOT.
Yes, HFOT USA, HFOTUSA.org will be a great place to put that $50 to use, or all $100. And so this week's Military Minute, which you cannot answer, Tom, because we're going to tee this up for our audience.
Which Tom?
Neither of you can answer.
Right.
Neither of you can answer. So we have a question about 9/11. What is the name of the structure that was built in the Pennsylvania field to commemorate the passengers on Flight 93? So if you are in our audience when this podcast conversation drops and you know the answer, make sure that you comment your best guess or educated answer, and you too could be selected to win $50 for yourself and $50 to a charity of your choice.
Man, after 65 episodes, you're just so fluid.
I'm slick. I'm like The Price is Right.
So, by the way, just nod your head if you know the answer. Don't say it out loud. Do you know the answer to that? Okay, good. Or bad. He'll get the answer next time he listens. So, yeah, thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go out to afbank.com and subscribe to the show. Also, make sure you rate us or leave us a comment on your favorite podcast platform, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And we thank you again for your time, your service, and congrats on the 400th home coming up on September 21st in New Braunfels, Texas, which will be after the fact when people listen to this wonderful podcast. But kudos to you, and keep driving home the mission and keep doing great work, Tom.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate the time. It's going to help us with awareness, which always flows to donations and folks getting involved. Couldn't appreciate it anymore. This is a wonderful mission. Or if people just take a look at it, it will pull on you. It's going to tug on you, and you'll want to get involved somehow, some way. This entire team up here is, and I'm extremely proud of this team for the last 20 years and putting number 400 on the ground. And we're not done. We got a lot more to go. We need all the help we can get.
Agreed. And to go onto their website because they got some cool looking garb based on what
maybe
your swag based on what that shirt looks like. So
I'm a sucker for swag.
Good luck and have a great celebration of the 400.
Yep. Thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to meet you.
No, it was my pleasure, and sure would like to get y'all out to a Bill event sometime. Let you see one of these homes.
I'm in.
I am too. Yeah.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Copyright Armed Forces Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All non-Armed Forces Bank-owned apps, websites, company names, and product names are trademarks or registered trademarks of their respective owners. Their mention does not imply any affiliation with or endorsement by Armed Forces Bank of them or their products and services. They are merely used as examples of the many available apps, companies, and websites that offer similar services. Before using any app or website, you should carefully review the terms of use, data collection, and privacy policy. Apps may have an initial cost or in-application purchase features. This information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Armed Forces Bank believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it could change. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein are their own, not Armed Forces Bank. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation and respective governing bodies for applicable laws, such as irs.gov for current tax law.